Welcome to the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu, and today we're diving deep into a guide called The Pricing Roadmap, How to Design B2B SaaS Pricing for Growth and Profit.
Ooh, very important topic.
Yeah, it is, and it's by Ulrik, Lehrskov-Schmidt, and we always appreciate you sharing these resources with us.
Absolutely.
And so today our mission is to really extract those key insights from the guide, the aha moments, the important lessons, so you can really understand strategic B2B SaaS pricing.
Yeah, that's the goal here, right? We want to give a nice, clear, and concise summary of Lehrskov-Schmidt's arguments,
Yes.
focusing on those critical insights that can really impact your business without getting bogged down with too many details.
Right. And the author right away says pricing is not just about picking a number. It's a strategic design problem
Right.
that has a huge impact on your ability to grow and be profitable as a business.
Absolutely. And it's a really important mindset shift for entrepreneurs and business leaders.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit.
So one of the central themes from the guide is this idea of pricing your customer, not your product. And what's really interesting here is that different customer segments have different levels of price sensitivity,
Okay.
and they place different values on certain things.
Right.
For example, if you think of a startup versus an enterprise client, a startup might be super price conscious.
Right.
They might be focused on just core functionalities.
Makes sense.
But an enterprise, on the other hand, might be willing to pay a premium for advanced features, integrations, robust support
Yeah.
that help them solve really complex problems.
Right.
So a static one-size-fits-all price just doesn't capture the full potential value.
Right. It's like if you're, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but like you're on a train and somebody is, going on a business trip and they need to get there urgently and they're willing to pay a lot of money for a train ticket, whereas
Absolutely.
a budget traveler is only willing to pay, a fraction of that. It's the same train ride, but the values is completely different.
It's a great analogy, and it really highlights how businesses might be leaving money on the table
Yes.
by not tailoring their pricing to those different customer needs and their willingness to pay.
So let's talk about building a sustainable and competitive business.
Absolutely. So Lehrskov-Schmidt emphasizes that superior profits are built on scale.
Okay.
And he breaks this down into three really important areas: cost scale, product scale, and distribution scale.
Right.
So cost scale is all about driving down your unit costs as you grow,
What?
which is a natural advantage of the SaaS model.
Right.
Product scale, on the other hand, refers to constantly increasing the value of your offering over time, making it more integral to your customers' operations.
Okay.
And then we have distribution scale, which is all about efficiently expanding your reach
Okay.
and optimizing customer acquisition costs.
So, you could have an amazing product, but if it costs too much to get each new customer,
Exactly.
you're going to struggle.
You're going to hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's where he mentions the CLTV to CAC ratio,
Okay.
which is customer lifetime value to customer acquisition cost.
Right.
And that's a really critical metric.
So that's like a barometer to see if your pricing is actually working.
Exactly. It tells you how effectively your pricing strategy is aligning with those different types of scale.
Okay.
A healthy and improving ratio means that your pricing is attracting and retaining customers over the long term.
Okay, so I'm seeing this already, that pricing is way more important than we think.
It's not an afterthought.
No, it's like foundational, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of frameworks, the 1 Hour Guide also introduces us to the Superior model,
Right.
which is designed to help guide your pricing decisions
Okay.
and make sure they support your business strategy and long-term growth.
So you're saying that you should have like a holistic approach
Exactly.
when it comes to pricing.
Absolutely.
And it's not just like some tactic, it's part of your strategy.
Exactly. Pricing should be intentionally designed to help you achieve your business goals.
Yeah. And when it comes to the practicalities of setting up your pricing, there are different models to consider.
Okay.
But one key takeaway here is that simplicity and clarity are paramount.
Right.
Your pricing model should be easy for your customers to understand.
Right. I mean, if it's too complicated, it's going to be difficult to sell.
Absolutely.
And then probably people won't buy it.
Exactly. And you'll probably lose deals.
Yeah.
So the author categorizes these models broadly as transactional fees, flat fees, and metric-based fees.
Okay.
It's about finding the model that best reflects the value you're delivering.
And how they actually consume the value.
Right. So for example, if you have a platform where value is directly tied to consumption, a usage-based model might be perfect.
Right.
Now, when we move into the world of enterprise clients,
Okay.
Lehrskov-Schmidt brings up the important concepts of wallet structuring and buyer personas.
Okay.
The key insight here is that in larger organizations, buying decisions often involve multiple stakeholders
Right.
with different budgetary responsibilities. So you're saying it's not just one person making the decision.
Exactly.
There's many people involved.
Right. You might have the end users who are focused on the day-to-day functionality.
Totally.
You might have departmental heads concerned about the budget and team productivity.
Yeah.
And then you have the executives looking at the strategic alignment and ROI.
Right. So you could have the most amazing product,
Yeah.
but if the person who's in charge of buying,
Exactly.
it doesn't see that strategic value.
It's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Your pricing needs to resonate with those different budget owners
Yeah.
and address their specific priorities and pain points.
Absolutely. And now let's talk about why pricing is often such a challenge for businesses.
Okay.
You can feel like a real catch-22.
Oh, yeah.
If you price too high, you scare people away. But if you price too low, you leave money on the table.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And the author makes a great point. Asking, what should my product cost, is the wrong question to start with.
Okay, so what's the right question?
Well, the focus should be on the value proposition you offer.
Right.
And how different segments perceive that value and their willingness to pay.
Okay, so I'm hearing understand your customer
Yes.
and understand how they value what you do.
Exactly. This is where the idea of avoiding a one-size-fits-all pricing model comes in.
Right. And also seeing pricing as a part of your business strategy.
Exactly.
Not just something you figure out later.
It should be baked into your plan from the beginning.
And the author also points out that pricing for SaaS products is fundamentally different from pricing physical goods.
Right.
Because SaaS is much more about perceived value and the long-term relationship.
And the outcomes you deliver for your customers.
Yeah, and so he compares this to the early days of running a train.
Okay.
You know, once the infrastructure is in place, the marginal cost of carrying an extra passenger is low.
Right.
But the prices need to be set to recoup the initial investment and make it accessible to various travelers.
So essentially, you need to have different classes
Right.
for your train tickets.
Which is essentially different pricing tiers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah, it makes the concept really clear.
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics of the product model.
Okay, so the author reiterates the principle of pricing the customer based on value.
Okay.
And he suggests structuring your offerings at two levels: the product ecosystem and the product packaging.
So the product ecosystem is more than just the software itself, right? It's the whole package.
Yes, it's everything that contributes to the overall value you deliver.
Like the features, the integrations, the support.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then product packaging is how you bundle those elements into different tiers.
Okay, so the ecosystem is all the value and the packaging is like, okay,
It's how you present and price those different combinations.
right, how you present it to the different types of customers.
Precisely. So then you have tools like fencing, laddering, and pricing metrics.
Okay, what is fencing?
So fencing is about creating differentiators between your pricing tiers.
So like a basic versus a premium plan.
Exactly. The basic plan might have limitations on the number of users
Right.
or the level of support provided.
Okay, so you're kind of putting up fences to guide people
Yeah, it helps to guide customers towards the plan that best suits their needs.
and their budget.
Absolutely. And then you have laddering,
Yeah.
which is about designing a clear upgrade path for your customers.
So they can move up as their needs grow.
Exactly. And then finally, you have pricing metrics.
What are those?
So that's the unit you use to charge your customers, like per user, per transaction, per gigabyte of data.
Right.
It needs to align with how your customers derive value from your product.
It has to make sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, moving on to the pricing model itself, it goes beyond just the price tag.
Okay.
It defines how customers pay, what they pay for, and how value is communicated.
Okay, so it's kind of like the whole structure of how you charge.
Exactly. There are three core elements: pricing structure, pricing metrics, and monetization strategy.
So the pricing structure, that's like whether you're doing a subscription or a one-time fee.
Right. Or if it's tiered or flat fee.
Okay, and pricing metrics we talked about already.
Yes, that's about the unit of value.
And monetization strategy is how you plan to grow your revenue.
Exactly. That includes things like expansion pricing, discounts, and price increases.
Okay.
And the author gives a 5-step process for choosing the right pricing model.
Okay.
It starts with defining your business goals,
Okay.
then understanding customer willingness to pay,
Right.
making sure your model aligns with your customer growth,
Okay.
testing the model, and planning for adjustments.
So you're not just setting it and forgetting it.
No, it's an ongoing process.
So now let's move to those specific price points.
All right, so those numbers can have a huge impact on customer perception and conversion rates.
And ultimately your revenue.
Exactly, and psychological factors play a big role here.
Okay, like what?
Well, things like anchoring, where you present a higher-priced option to make a mid-tier offering seem more reasonable. Then there's charm pricing, using those .99 endings to make prices seem lower.
Right.
And price bracketing, which is offering a range of options to guide customers towards a specific choice.
Interesting. And you also have to consider your competitive positioning.
Absolutely. Do you want to be seen as a premium brand or a budget-friendly option?
Right.
Your pricing needs to reflect that.
Okay. And ultimately, it's all about maximizing revenue.
Right. Capturing the most value from your customer base.
And Lehrskov-Schmidt lays out another 5-step process for this.
Yeah, so you start by identifying your core value metric.
Okay.
Then you analyze your competitors' pricing.
Right.
Test different pricing tiers.
Okay.
Utilize those psychological pricing techniques.
Right.
And then you monitor customer behavior and adjust accordingly.
So testing and adjusting is really key.
It's all about gathering data and optimizing.
Okay, so now let's talk about validation.
Okay, this is a really important section in the 1-hour guide.
Okay.
You can't just come up with a pricing strategy in a vacuum.
Right, you have to actually test it.
You need to validate your assumptions with real-world data.
Okay.
So the author gives us 3 methods: customer research, market testing, and data analysis.
Okay, what's customer research?
It's about talking directly to your customers.
Okay.
Understanding their perceived value and willingness to pay.
Okay.
Then you have market testing, which involves experiments like A/B testing.
Okay.
And finally, data analysis is about examining your sales data,
Yeah.
looking at things like your CLTV to CAC ratio.
Okay.
And then the author gives a 5-step validation process.
Okay, what are the steps?
Conduct research, implement testing, analyze results, make adjustments, and implement changes gradually.
Okay, so it's a very step-by-step approach.
It's about being methodical and data-driven.
Okay, let's move on to discounts.
All right, so we all love a good discount, but in the SaaS world, they need to be strategic.
Okay.
The author distinguishes between structural discounts, which are built into your pricing model, and sales discounts, which are used more tactically.
Okay, so an example of a structural discount would be like an annual plan.
Exactly. You get a discount for committing to a longer term.
Right.
And a sales discount might be something you offer to close a specific deal.
Right.
The key takeaway here is to not over-rely on discounts.
Okay.
If you constantly offer discounts, you risk devaluing your product.
And training your customers to expect lower prices.
Exactly. So discounts should be tied to specific goals.
Why?
And you should track their effectiveness.
So let's talk about raising prices.
All right, this can be a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
But Lehrskov-Schmidt argues that it's often necessary for long-term growth.
Right.
The key is to address the fear of losing customers.
Okay, how do you do that?
Well, you need to justify the increase, highlight the value improvements, segment your customer base, maybe grandfather some loyal customers,
Right.
communicate the changes clearly, offer alternatives, test the increase.
So a lot of communication is key.
Absolutely. And then you monitor the feedback.
So how do you know if a price increase has been successful?
Well, you look at metrics like average revenue per customer,
Okay.
churn rates, customer satisfaction scores, new customer acquisition.
Right.
All of this comes back to the central theme of the 1-hour guide by Anil Nathu. The strategic approach is vital for every aspect of your business.
Yeah, and pricing is no exception.
Absolutely. And thankfully, this 1-hour guide offers a ton of actionable steps.
Like what?
Well, you can start by auditing your current pricing model.
Okay.
Then research customer willingness to pay, optimize your packaging.
Right.
Implement regular testing, use discounts and price increases strategically.
Right.
And make sure everything aligns with your overall business objectives.
So in other words, take what we learned from Lehrskov-Schmidt and put it into practice.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to iterate and adjust as you go.
Well, we hope this deep dive into the pricing roadmap from the 1-hour guide has been helpful.
Absolutely.
And given you a better understanding of effective B2B SaaS pricing.
And remember, this guide by Anil Nathu is all about shifting your perspective. Instead of just setting a price, focus on understanding your customer,
Okay.
the value you provide, and how to structure your offerings for mutual benefit.
Thank you for joining us today.
And don't forget to check out the 1-hour guide website for more insights by Anil Nathu.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See you later.